Jed Burrito,
Hello? What's
you're
up?
up. You're in here. What's up?
Hey, what's going on? So I had an issue with your take on the shooting of uh Dankier's Franklin. That was the one where he they asked him to drop the weapon and he ended up pulling it out and then they shot him.
Yeah.
So my big issue with that was like, okay, definitely I think you said he was on drugs, and if he was and he was not responding to the officers, um, yeah, like I understand that like there are things that he possibly could have done to make the situation better. However, you got to take a look at the police officer's actions and uh, because that's really what matters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this guy can do anything, and it doesn't matter. What matters is the officer's actions and did they follow the procedures, the right procedures to make the best possible outcome, right?
Okay.
So he didn't have a gun in his hand; he had it in his waistband.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you ask someone to drop the weapon and they have it in their waistband, what does that mean? What do they have?
Drop the weapon.
Well, yeah, but how? How do they? How can you get to the weapon if it's in your waistband? If it's your hand, you just let go, right, and you drop it.
Sure. Or you raise your hands, or you communicate with the officers, or there's like a million other things you could do. But yeah.
No, but that wasn't the command. Oh shit. Oh. Hey, give me one second. Sorry.
He is baiting the answer that he has to draw his gun first. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, hello.
Oh, hey, what's up?
Sorry about that. Just
Yeah.
fucking telemarketers, whatever. All right, so yeah, I mean, like by ordering him to drop the weapon rather than like asking him to get on the floor or put his hands up, because if you ask the guy to put his hands up, they can maybe approach safely and actually remove the weapon for him
Mm-hmm.
because that's
It's possible
generally
that they might
safer
have thought
for.
he already had his weapon drawn too. I'm not sure.
I mean, that's true, but if they didn't see it, then like, why would you make the command? Like, if you don't have visual confirmation, so this is like one thing that I get a lot. So like with the Tamir Rice shooting, there was like an argument made. It's like, well, on the dispatch they said that he was pointing the guns at people
Mm-hmm.
and that he was like an adult and all this stuff, and obviously he wasn't any of those things. And this is the problem: is that like police officers are often making these decisions based off of prior information, which can be faulty, right?
Yeah.
And just in terms of like just procedures, you probably shouldn't be making decisions based off of just purely what you get off the dispatch. You should be, at least somewhat making decisions based off of what you can see, right? So if they didn't have a visual of him having a gun in his hand, there really isn't a reason why you should say drop the weapon. You should say get on the floor or something else. I mean, it just seemed like it was completely out of order. And by ordering him to drop the weapon, he has to draw the weapon, and drawing the weapon is what got him shot.
Okay.
So, I mean, don't you think that's, the
I,
officers in a way set him up for failure?
I mean, I kind of feel like what got him shot was the incredibly weird and sketchy behavior he was exhibiting, in combination with the fact that when he drew his gun, it almost looked like he was about to point it at the guy in front of him. But
That's fine. But I mean, like, and in terms of like procedure, it might have been that, if they asked him to put his hands up, he draws the weapon, he points at them, anything, any number of things. I'm not trying to make an argument for that. I'm just trying to make the argument that if you're going to say that the officers did nothing wrong, then, yeah, like, this isn't really like consequentialism. It'd be more like Kantian, right? Like the officers have to do their due diligence and do the best possible thing that they're supposed to do in the situation. And asking someone to drop the weapon when it's in their waistband is setting them up for failure.
okay.
So I don't know. That's just one. I just want to make sure that like, when we talk, because when you approach like these discussions about like, um, you know, police officers and things like that, there's all types of hypotheticals that could happen. Like oh, he could have drawn the weapon, he could have aimed it at them, like he could, that's kind of what people get into. And the problem is that any number of things can happen, but it's not about what could happen. It's about what the situation. Well, yeah, I guess it's not fair to say like it's what the situation actually is, right? Because the argument that comes into the defense of the officer is what potential danger there was, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, again, I just feel like the procedures that the officers took were not we're setting the guy up for failure. And it's possible that if his behavior was a bit better, that you know um, Do you know what the guy who was from Africa who got shot on a stoop in New York City?
No, I don't know about this one. What happened?
So basically, he was from Africa, didn't speak English, and he sees the police officers come up, and he goes. He doesn't have his identification on him, so he rushes inside to go get it, and they shoot him in the back as he's doing so, because they heard some suspicious activity in the area, and they were like going to check it out, and then they see the guy, and he's going to get his identification for them. And the thing is that, so if, let's say in this situation, maybe this guy was, mentally challenged, or he was in some way not able to articulate himself. I mean, I don't really think that that's like is fair to just expose those types of the people that have difficulty communicating to that level of danger. I mean, essentially, they had guns trained on them. They more or less had the situation in control. He was far from like aiming the gun at them, and their instructions were to drop the weapon. So I don't know. Like I feel like
the
really
worry with the cop situation wasn't that he was going to shoot one of the officers; it's that he was about to shoot the guy that was right in front of him. That they'd gotten a call that he had been aiming a gun at earlier, and that he was nailing in front of outside of this guy, like in the car in a threatening manner.
Right.
That was the issue.
Well,
Not that
okay,
he was going to
so
shoot an officer.
right. So I mean, do you think that it's fair for police officers to approach a situation of I guess being willing to cause harm to prevent harm?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, of course.
Right, right, okay. But like if they don't know that they're going to cause harm, or if they don't know that they're going to prevent harm, then they could potentially just be causing harm, right?
Yeah, but you never know if you're going to prevent harm. You can't know anything about a situation 100%. You just got to make your best judgment when you're on the ground, right?
That's absolutely true. But I mean, and you need a certain amount of information to make an informed decision, right? So like, in this situation, yeah, he could have shot the guy, but like, I mean, he didn't aim it at the guy yet, right? I mean, I don't know. The problem is that
he was about like a third of a second from shooting the guy in the face. Maybe a third of a second from being able to shoot the guy in the face.
Was he?
Yeah, easily. Oh, yeah, easily. I'd bet my life on that. Yeah, of course. The guy had the gun almost at level with the guy's legs. He just needed to aim it up like maybe fucking maybe 20 degrees more. Yeah, and shoot the guy in the face. Like less than maybe like a quarter to like a third of a second away
Okay,
from there.
well, that's fine. I mean, like if you saw, I mean, I saw the muzzle pointing down, but
Do you know how quickly it is to like find like a
yes,
remote or glasses
I've
in your
I've watched
hand
a lot
and
of fucking
angle it up?
shooting videos, yeah.
Well, no, just like angle it up. It takes you like maybe a third of a second, if that. Like,
Well, that's the thing is that when the guy got shot, at the point that the guy got shot, he didn't have his hand on the handle. He had it like around the back of the gun. I mean,
yeah.
and
How do you know that?
because I watched the video.
Okay, but like, so I'm aware that there exist videos where they like have it slowed down and magnified. But I mean, like at the time,
Right,
you don't
okay,
really
right,
know
okay.
that
But,
as
but
a
again, we're arguing about what the police officer's perspective was, and we don't know what that perspective is.
What do you mean? Of course we do. We have a body cam.
Well, right, but in term when I'm talking about their perspective, I guess I'm talking about like what's going through their head, right?
Well, what's going through the head is you don't. When you're watching something like that, like you're not perceiving whether the person is like has like the gun pointed at a person or they're pulling it backwards. Like that's you don't have time to see something like that. Like
Right, but I mean, the argument is that did this person make a rational decision or not?
which person make a rational decision?
The police officer.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I think that maybe the commands could have been different or better, but in terms of like the decision to shoot, I think was probably okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, like the guy's behavior obviously could have been much better, but there are going to be situations where like either someone doesn't know what to do in the situation because they don't have training. Like there was that guy that like got shot by the SWAT team because like he was like crawling towards them and then like he just wanted
that
to, like,
situation was not good at all. That situation was super fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, almost all these situations are going to be fucked up. But
No. Like that situation was 100% the fault of the cops. That guy did absolutely nothing. You're talking about Ben Shaver, I think. That guy did absolutely nothing to get shot. Nothing warranted the police. There was nobody that was in harm at all in that situation. In this situation, with this most recent shooting, you had a civilian that they'd already gotten a police report that this guy wasn't being antagonistic towards him. That was in a car with a guy like aiming a gun or had a gun in his pants that was like being antagonistic towards the dude and could have killed him in like less than a second. Like it's a way different situation.
Okay. Well, I mean, again, like when we're talking about about these types of situations. They do kind of happen in a split second. I'm much less like willing to make the argument that like he wasn't going to aim the guy and shoot him because I just don't know that. I'm much more willing to say that I don't feel that the officer's commands were. I think that you know it's never good for an officer to order someone who does not have their weapon drawn to drop it because then it necessitates them to draw the weapon, which in a way just sets them up for failure, right?
Yeah, I mean,
So
I
I don't know.
probably agree with that. My guess is, if I had to guess, I would say the officer probably thought he already had a weapon drawn. That'd be my guess. But that's what it seemed like when I watched it. Otherwise, why would you do that, you know? Because
Right.
typically in
Well,
those cases, what the officers would do is they tell you to turn around, put your hands up, and then they would come and they would disarm you. Typically, if an officer is approaching a person that they suspect has a firearm, the officer is usually the one that wants to disarm you. So, for instance, if you're getting pulled over by a police officer and you have a concealed carry weapon, the recommendation is to tell the officer, "Hey, I'm just letting you know I have a weapon. If you'd like, I can get in my car. You can take it from me, or I can hand it to you, or whatever." But like, you always check with the officer. You wouldn't just pull your gun out and like give it to him, or pull it out and drop it or something.
right. And I kind of feel like that's something that we should probably there should probably, I mean, how do you feel about like mandatory classes on teaching interactions with police for gun owners, like
Yeah,
upon
I mean,
like
you
being
definitely should. I think most gun owners in the U.S. are fucking morons, so it'd probably be a good idea.
Yeah, like back in the chat, like somebody was like talking about how like if they got pulled over by an officer, they would like take apart their gun and put it in their glove compartment, like as they're getting pulled over, right?
Yeah, that's real dumb. You don't ever want to be like fiddling. If you get pulled over by an officer, the best things you can do is you can turn on your two dome lights and you can place both of your hands firmly on your steering wheel. The most important thing that an officer wants to see when they're dealing with you is your hands, so they know you're not fiddling with or fucking around with anything. That you're like gonna grab a firearm. That's what they're worried about.
Gotcha. All right. Aside from that, I kind of didn't. I don't know about like the take with the whole like blackface girl thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my big thing about that is that like if you look at like a lot of black cosplayers when they do cosplay lighter skinned people, which is like a lot of what's in anime and video games, they I don't think I've ever seen a person of color like lighten their skin for the sake of doing a cosplay.
This might
And
sound
I'm
really
not.
racist. I just don't know. Can you do that?
I mean, I don't know, like lighten your skin. I mean,
Yeah, if you're
shit, yeah.
black, is there makeup that you can use that actually gives you like
Yo,
a much lighter?
have you seen my man Sammy Sosa?
No,
Look up Sammy Sosa. Like
or what? You're the
fucking
baseball player, like.
yeah. He was the baseball player that like was gonna yeah. Look at that one where he's got like the pink hat and shit. So like this is like a thing. So like my roommate's Dominican. Like this is like some shit that like fucking Dominican people are like ridiculous about is about race. Like they all think that they're like not black at all. Like they like so like, obviously like they're mixed. There's it's a colony. They had like Spaniards and black people on there. There was like slave colony, all that stuff. And so only 4% of Dominican people identify themselves as
Only 4% what?
only 4% of Dominican people identify themselves as black. When they took like a survey on the island, only 4% identify themselves as being black in terms of
Okay.
I don't know. It's just a fun fact about DR. I don't know.
Oh,
Like,
sure. Okay, okay.
well, point is that like yeah, you can totally whiten your skin with fucking Sammy Sosa or like fucking Michael Jackson. You can totally do that. I'm not sure if it's like permanent or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure that there's a way that you can like fucking do that shit temporarily, but
Okay.
I don't know. Like, point is that I mean, I don't really think that anybody would not like understand like a cosplay if they don't darken their skin. But I mean, I don't know. Like at the same time, maybe like when people talk about these kinds of things, they kind of like are taking a step back and talking about it from like a purely like theoretical standpoint, like because theoretically there shouldn't be anything wrong with like darkening your skin, right?
Well, I mean, unless you're not on board with like the blackface thing, right?
Well, okay, that's the, like if you let's say like we're like in a completely different world, racism does not exist, like that never happened, right? No, there was no such thing as like colonialism, racism, anything like that, right? If none of that happened, I don't think that there's anything that necessitates like lightening or darkening your skin tone as like being good or bad.
Well, yeah, of
But the
course. Yeah.
problem is, yeah, But when people make the argument that there wasn't anything wrong that she did, they kind of are taking that argument because they're just completely ignoring all of the historical context, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, like, yeah, there is like the argument that, like, okay, she's from Sweden, so she doesn't have the historical context.
Wait,
But I
wasn't she
think
from
that
like Croatia or some shit?
I don't fucking know. I mean, I heard them like there was like some the conversation was like Knut was saying that it was okay because he's also from like the Aryan motherland or some shit like that. I
Or
don't know.
Lithuania? Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I mean, point is that she's from a place that doesn't have a lot of black people, so maybe she is not supposed to know what it is. But at the same time, I mean, like, if you've lived on the internet for more than like a fucking day, you've probably seen like a blackface controversy at some point, right?
Yeah, you'd think
I don't know.
so, sure.
I don't know. I mean, if she didn't see anything wrong with it and she was just like, oh, I didn't know there was anything wrong with it, I apologize. I don't think that anybody should like have any issues with her. But if she's like arguing like, well, I just wanted to do the cosplay and I should be allowed to do it, then I mean, I don't know, what was her response to it.
I don't know. I didn't really watch up on her responses a lot. A lot of people were saying she was pretty combative about things, though, so I'm not sure.
I mean, people usually are. I mean, like the girl with the China dress and all that stuff. They always have like, it's kind of like phases, right? Like first you make excuses, then you say like you didn't know, and then eventually you might either apologize or just like make a alt right YouTube or some shit.
Sure.
I don't know. That's all I got. So appreciate you.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, buddy. All right, see you later.